successful woman in business means having the courage to own who you are, why you are doing what you do, and how you can apply your vision to positively impact the world. A successful woman is confidently feminine and eager to learn and grow. She continuously strives to attain an integrated balance between her work and social life, which includes family, friends, and others. Research has shown that women-owned companies generate higher revenue than those owned by men. It also shows that women are more effective as a leader and are better at creating jobs. Some of the famous and successful entrepreneurs and businesswomen said to be worth billions of US dollars include Sarah Blacking, Wang, Folorunsho Alakija, Hajia Bola Shagaya, amongst others. For women who still feel incapacitated when it comes to venturing into business or creating jobs today, on the show, we will be looking at how do we rekindle the love and the fire of becoming self-sustaining and to face the challenges thrown at women by society. My name is Mute Olori, and my guest on the program is a medical doctor turned serial entrepreneur with businesses in real estate, hospitality, and ICT. My guest, Dr. Ibukun Adedayo. Thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, so doctor turned serial entrepreneur. Tell me about it.
Okay, so interesting. What happens is that most of the time when people hear that, they say, okay, your parents wanted you to study medicine, but that was not my story. I grew up thinking I wanted to be a doctor, unconsciously influenced by the fact that my mom is a retired nurse and she took us to the hospital a lot. So the kings I knew were doctors, and I really had a desire to be a king in my own stead. So I grew up thinking I wanted to be a doctor. By the time I was in 500 level, the more I did medicine, the more I knew that this was just not what I wanted to do for the whole of my life. So finished medical school, did a few years of practice, and it got to a point I had to say to myself, I didn't have enough passion for that particular profession to stay with it all of my years. Now, this is where the challenge is. Jumping ship then became a challenge because there was a huge sacrifice that went into becoming a medical doctor. And everybody just went, oh, just when you should be settling down. And then that's when you decide to want to jump ship. And, but I did make up my mind. Now, the question is, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew what I did not want to do. Until today, I always say to people that never be afraid to dump what you don't want to do and go in search of what you want to do, even if you don't know it yet. However, if you never search, then you're stuck with what you didn't want to do. I said to myself one time that 10 years down the line, if I stayed with medicine, would I be happy with the decision, or wished I took that decision a few years back? Of course, there were a lot of struggles. My parents saying, oh, we sent you to medical school. Friends going on to say you were a star in medical school and all of that. But I did move on to, you know, making that move, and I'm extremely glad that I did. Interestingly, it has now also made me see that even in terms of getting back to connecting with the medical profession, in being a serial entrepreneur, you can literally connect back even to the health sector.
So who is a serial entrepreneur?
Now, a serial entrepreneur is someone who does business across several sectors.
Okay.
And also is able to set up systems that ensure that all of those systems, all of those businesses in the different sectors are able to function with her or him, providing a bird's eye view, such that you're not locked up in one and then the others can't function. The other handle of being a serial entrepreneur is that, which many serial entrepreneurs forget, is that they must understand that in being a serial entrepreneur, there must be a part of your income that is also passive. So you must be able to, from all your businesses, put together some bucket of businesses that don't even need you. Basically, invest in other businesses. Serial entrepreneurs tend to forget.
Okay, so do they have to be similar businesses in a particular industry, or just a pocket in different different areas of business, and they don't have to correlate in any way?
Typically, serial entrepreneurs would venture into different economic sectors, different industries. I run businesses in 3 different industries that currently don't communicate actively. However, I run a hospitality business. Hospitality business can own its real estate, and then it can backtrack on Rock Realty, the real estate company, to own its real estate. My ICT business also has people who sell food-like things, which is also hospitality. They're in different sectors, but it's also important to gradually start to see how they can lean on each other. I mean, I've had, for setting up businesses, I've had one business be the lender, startup capital, to one of the businesses, and then they pay back with interest. So, I mean, they would be in different industries, but you have to also find a way that they leverage on one another.
Okay, so let's look at the transition.
Yes.
From medicine to business.
Yes.
What did you have to do to excel, or to launch successfully into business?
3 major things. 1, educate yourself. Go back to tell yourself you know nothing about what you're going into. Be very humble, and there were times that I had to go ahead and educate myself with very fresh young graduates. We went to the same courses, we did the same. So 1, educate yourself. 2, find a mentor. I have a mentor. Her name is Udol Konjo. Udol Konjo plays in the real estate space, very strongly in the real estate. She was the one that also made me do hospitality, because she was doing some hospitality at the time. Someone that you're accountable to, and someone who can say, no, don't go there. It's not time to go there. This is what you do. This is how. And also challenges you. I mean, I've left her table sometimes crying because she was just upset with me that I didn't meet my goals and all of that. So that was very critical. And then number 3, the God factor. You must also be able to go back and say, God, I really don't know exactly how to do this, but I need you to help me through and show me the way. So 1, educate yourself. Never be ashamed to educate yourself. Read, go for courses, invest in yourself. Very important. And then 2, have a mentor. 3, go back to God and always let Him know that you need Him to lead.
Awesome. So how does it feel like being an entrepreneur, a businesswoman, self-employed, creating jobs? How does it feel like?
1 word. Makes you feel proud of yourself. 1 phrase. Proud of yourself, proud of what you have been able to put together, and also proud of in what you've put together, knowing where you are also going. I have one small placard in my office that pushes me on, that when people remind you of your past, show them a picture of the future you're creating. And it's not a past in the terms of a bad past, it's just a past in terms of little beginnings. When people remind you, how did she start? Then tell them, see where I am, and guess what? See where I'm going.
Yeah.
So that totally makes me very proud of myself, and more importantly, it has also, so I've found that being an entrepreneur helps you to design the future that you want to. In my room, you have pasted all around, and I show people pictures of my room very easily, by the way. Pictures all around of my vision board area is in my room, and then pictures all around where I really want to be. People that make me tick when I see them. Being an entrepreneur allows you to do that, because you sit down, work your numbers, and know what you need to do to, build wealth, and then look back and touch lives.
So what are some of the challenges you faced? I'm sure that your challenges also reflect the challenges a lot of women are facing wanting to come into business, especially young women venturing into being entrepreneur. Because these days we discover that the white collar doesn't pay anymore. So what were the challenges you had to face building your business?
Number 1, capital. So I had to look at my initial few strides in business. I literally had to read and learn about how to build your businesses with minimum or no capital. So the real estate industry, for example, in my venturing into real estate, I didn't have money to be a developer. I didn't have the capital. I didn't have anything. So I said, in this sector, how can I enter this sector and gradually build my own capital? The first thing that jumped out to me was to be able to do real estate advisory. So the company started out as a real estate advisory company. Now is a development and advisory company. So the company rendered advisory services, starting with just me initially. And then gradually I needed more hands. And then we got companies retainers and became notable for the real estate advisory company across board. So real estate companies wanted to do projects. The name that comes to mind will be Rock Realty will structure the project for you. And we made tons of money from that. And then we were able, first of all, we were known in the industry and we were able to access finance because people knew if you could structure for company A, B, C, D, then you would be able to do a project. Then two, we had also gathered enough capital to be able to catalyze projects. So find your low-hanging fruits. Don't brawl in. There's no industry that you cannot start with little or no money. Same thing with my the restaurant. Basically, I woke up one day. Many people don't know that business actually preceded real estate. I resigned. I was going to start a real estate company. I found I was pregnant. I was very ill. So I sat in my house and said, what can I do? I started from my highfalutin books of Blue Ocean strategies and all of that. I went back and humbled myself and started looking at businesses you can start from home. And one of those was food delivery. So my home chef, I converted him. I said, you're not going to be chefing at home anymore. We're going to start a business. And so I got him, I employed one manager who was doing every other thing and got a dispatch rider. And we started cooking from my house. They overgrew my house. I built a kitchen for them behind my house. And then overgrew that. We went to a kitchen outdoor. In 3 months, people were saying we want to sit in. And then we now decided, I said, this is looking good. And then we launched out. So there's no excuse such as no capital. So one, access to finance, but you can always overcome them. Second, there's a challenge in the industry which it's not insurmountable, but I like to touch on it because many ladies like to touch on it. Be able to categorize men in the industry. So I've met men that said to me that you can't thrive in the real estate sector because you're a woman. You know, so one, you must be able to categorize men and decide on your approach to working with them in the marketplace so that the general tendency to be dominated by men in that you can easily push that aside. There won't be enough time to dwell on that, but I have categorized men that I meet in the industry into 4 different classes, and I've been able to design exactly how I will deal with them in the marketplace.
So you have those who help, those who support,
yes,
those who
don't care whether you're a man. They don't know whether you're wearing skirt or trousers. And they're
very shrewd with the business.
Yes, and then the 4th set, those who would throw sexual advances at you. And then you must be able, those are also different categories, but you must also know how to deal with them. But I always say that approach it with the mindset of there's no sex categorization in business. Business just responds to principles. And when men bring that to the table, you need to also quickly let them know that business is about principles and not about who's at the table.
Awesome. And that's a lot of problems women face because you just said some of the men don't understand I'm a woman and they don't treat me that way. But in business, it's strictly business is business. There's no sex in it.
Absolutely.
All right, I'll take a short break. My guest, we've been talking about striving in the marketplace, you know, when it comes to business. And when we return, we'll be talking further on how to become a successful entrepreneur, drawing from her story. Please don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.
AD4 TV Radio, we focus on education with emphasis on research and innovation, science and technology, women and girl child education, children, health, youth and sports, socio-political and economic reforms, security, environment, entrepreneurship, and entertainment. We'll give you information at your fingertips. Learn on the go. Follow AD4 TV Radio on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. AD4 TV Radio, reliable and credible.
We love you, AD4 TV Radio.
All right, so welcome back. It's the Total Woman on AD4 TV Radio, and my guest, Dr. Ibikun Adedayo, has been sharing her experience with us as one who left the medical field and jumped into business and became a serial entrepreneur. So, what do you think has been the limiting factor to so many women succeeding. You know, even with one, and then we're not talking about 1, 2, 3 serial, succeeding with one. What has been a limiting factor?
Number one, believing in themselves. Number two, not being able to draw clear lines between the challenges they face as women, because now we're talking women, the challenges they face as women, and also separating those from how they perform in their businesses or on their businesses. So I discovered that many women, for example, if they have personal issues, it has direct impact on their businesses. I mean, a woman, for example, is not able to sit down and look at her numbers directly, because when she's supposed to be looking at her business numbers, she is, and I have to be careful with this because some people can take this to the extreme. When she's supposed to be, she's doing school runs every day. There's no way you're going to be a successful entrepreneur and you're going to, as your business expands, do school runs every day.
No, but we talk about women multitasking.
So that's where the
Ability to
challenge is.
multitask.
So what I do, for example, is I pick my kids twice a week.
And who does the remaining? They go to school just twice a
The
week?
nanny and the driver.
Okay.
So when you start up, assuming you're starting from not enough financial backup, then you may have to pick your kids every day. But if you did run your business well, and then you're beginning to expand, the value of your time doing that every day now becomes slapped against the cost of a trusted nanny or cousin or friend or auntie and a driver and you. So the salient things that make men succeed in the marketplace are, for example, 4 hours of your every active day that is deployed into doing 1 or 2 things that men will not do. See, an entrepreneur that takes 2 hours out every day from our active time and needs to also be home early. So women, for example, may not be able to run all the late nights that men run. So you have a little bit of less active hours outside of the home, especially in the early years. And we cannot shy away from this. We must learn to now find a balance between the things that hold us down. So I have a staff, for example, every month she's off work for a certain days because she has menstrual cramps. And I said to her, I will give you a staff loan to go and see a proper gynecologist who would ensure that you don't have menstrual cramps. Because if you're not at work 5 days every month, the guy next door in the same desk as you will likely do better. We like to say these things may not be very important, but honestly, women need to be able to find a fantastic balance and look at, there are no successful women who would not find the balance between career and family. Our distractions have to be clearly handled. Because of the way we are wired, we have to attend to the home, we have to attend to work. So while I will not belabor that, you have to put it in your own context. So I'll give you an example of my own schedule. What I've done as I became financially empowered is to put a lot of structures around myself. My mom lives in my house now. So I know that if I have to travel for work, not just the nanny is with my kids, but my mom is around. How many of us have mothers but can never have them around? Meanwhile, they're the help that we need. There was a time I brought my mom into my business. She ran a cash business all her life. So one of my businesses needed inventory arrangements, and I just was struggling with that department. So I got help from her, and I put her on a consultancy for a period. That help may not be my mom, might not be somebody else's mom. That help may be a friend. I won't belabor that. I just got someone who is a niece into my business recently to come and restructure customer relationship. So look for help around. And then as you become more financially empowered, look at the things that you can detangle yourself from. Don't mop the floor when somebody can mop the floor and you can afford it. Because if you use that 1 hour to design a growth trajectory for one of your businesses, you will get more value than mopping the floor.
Well, everybody has their own priorities.
So, yes, so if your priority
And
now is
some
domestic,
will also let you know that
Yeah.
they don't mix family with business or all that. But let's go to a point you
Yeah.
mentioned earlier on, that one of the limiting factors
Yes.
is one of the fact that we don't know ourselves as women. You know, so what is it like being not knowing yourself and wanting to have the tag CEO, MD to your name? I mean, that should be enough for one to know what they really want.
I have a very straight answer to this normally. I say to people that being an entrepreneur really does not mean you own your own company sometimes. So I say to my staff.
That is another definition. Please
Yes.
explain.
Yes. All the people that lead in my organization, they start on salary levels, and then eventually they become stakeholders with respect to revenue, and some of them with respect to profit. So what I say to them is that your income after 6 months becomes linked to revenue, and some of them to profit. So right away, for every increase in revenue, they participate. And then they're driven with a focus on ensuring that revenue is impacted right. Now, must I be a CEO to own my... So I spun off one subsidiary recently, and I got one of the staff to become the MD of that of the subsidiary, and everything that he earns is directly linked to the revenue. Now, there is no company owner that a staff says, you know what, I would run this will be my results, and this will be my revenue linked pattern. I think that's the easiest way to be a CEO or to be an entrepreneur. So I call them intrapreneurs.
So sometimes our wanting to be the master, the lead, the all in all in starting up our business,
Yes.
kind of limiting us from really looking at things from the background.
Yes. And also limits us from looking at things from the background, limits us from seeing the opportunities where we are. Every CEO, or what people call CEO, or every company owner wants to take a backseat. Believe me. The only reason people don't take backseats is that the people they have put in charge are not taking the front seat. So if everybody has a staff who decides, I'm going to run this company for you. So basically, I get to be a CEO, and I didn't do all of that startup wahala. The guy who runs my restaurant, in my opinion, is a CEO. Because he literally runs everything, and his salary is linked to revenue. And I said to him, and he hasn't, so also CEOs need to also know that we need to help our staff. You need to let them know how their progression will be.
So that's where capacity building actually comes in.
Capacity building is important, but it's also significantly linked to the readiness of
The staff.
the wanting to be CEO. Who is a staff right now. So we can't all be CEOs. However, we can all be some form of entrepreneur if we decided to put that posture to whatever it is that we do. And for those who would eventually be CEOs, I strongly advocate for learning, for them to actually be employees at some point or volunteers at some point, because you can stand on the shoulders of the giants that have gone ahead rather than making all their mistakes, because you will make mistakes even after you've learned. You can reduce those by learning first.
So let's identify some of the issues affecting young girls.
Okay.
You know, who they start up well, they're pushing on, but they get stuck somehow along the way. You know, how can they restructure things, you know, so that when they get to that point, they'll be able to find a lead way forward.
Thank you. Number one, everybody gets to that point in business, especially when you're starting off. So the first thing I say to them is they feel suddenly alone. They feel like they failed. They feel like it's all, oh my gosh, this is all ended. So what I first say to them is that every successful business that you've seen went through this phase. The only difference is some decided to say, I'll pick up the mess. There are really no failures in business. There are only lessons learned. Because for every business that fails, there are always lessons to be learned. And the only thing that now determines if it's called a failure or eventually just a part of the journey is if you got up from it. Now, how do you get up from it? First, pick the lessons. 2, sometimes you may need to take a break, go do some learning and come back. But the first thing you will say to yourself is, I will get up from this. How do I get up from this? It may take humbling yourself. You probably had a store and you decided, I'm going to shut down this store, then start from my house.
2 points I've heard you say throughout this interview. Take a break and learn. And the next one you say things like humble yourself. Are these 2 main factors that limit young women or entrepreneurs from excelling?
And I'll add one more. Take a break and learn. But before you take a break and learn, identify that you need to learn. Women get confused easily. I entered the problem. The girl is just confused. She's just crying, she's shattered and battered. Sit down and say, what were the problems? Then go learn. So I added an initial step to learning. But learning also takes, swallowing your mistakes takes a humbling. I was very bad at money management. I did not do too well. I took my capital and bought jewelry. Blatant truths. Say them to you. Then,
yeah, because people say you are dressed the way you dress. So
yes,
you may want to look the part.
So you are now going to find the balance between your capital and looking the part. So you will not buy gold from the souk. You will buy some other type of jewelry that helps you in the interim. Then you won't have 5 weeks. You will take one and send it to the salon every weekend. But make it look good. And then you may not be able to use very expensive makeup. Make it light so that it doesn't show that it's not expensive. As you continue to build wealth, you will naturally, I say when you're still struggling to buy something, when you're still paying in bits to buy anything that you wear, you're not able to yet. Don't do that. So there are some truths that we need to be able to say to ourselves. As little as I slept 14 hours every day. As a CEO starting, it's not likely you can afford that. So be humble enough to take in your mistakes. And I've had to do that many times. To say, because you messed up here. And then learn. And I think also very strongly, and I need to stress that well, is a mentor. Not an accountable mentor. I have a mentor that I submit my annual plans to, and I'm obligated to every quarter I give her my progress reports. Yeah.
Wow. So we need to learn the ropes. And I've heard several times that women allow their emotions to come in between them and the business. And that's what differentiates a woman from a man. What do you have to say to that?
I believe that there's power in our emotions. So I'm not one who says women should suppress their emotions. But yes, we should manage our emotions. I think our emotions help us to, for example, couch business discussions in a way that they are, for example, compelling but not adversarial. A woman will say the same thing that a man will say. One looks like he's attacking, the other is able to. So we can channel our emotions rightly. I mean, I've had times that I've used my emotions to literally move deals through. So our emotions can be a strength in the marketplace. I don't believe that women should cry in the marketplace. So those are the places where we now need to manage our emotions. However, in the instances that you really want to cry, cry. But when you clear up the tears, say what you have to say. So we should not, but what also I find that women try to use emotions, and I found that also with my female staff, they try to use emotions to want to get things through unjustifiably. So I have a staff walking to me and she has 1 million things to say about, you know, I was just feeling bad this one. I'm like, no, you don't feel bad and not come to work. So I think we just need to ensure our emotions are great, and I feel that that's our uniqueness in the marketplace, and I feel that we can also use it to get things. However, we should not use it unjustifiably in the marketplace. But if I really wanted to cry in a board meeting, I probably would. I've grown not to, but I probably would. But when I dry my tears, I'll say exactly what I wanted to say.
And then we'll move on from there.
Yes, and then we'll move on.
Wow, interesting. Thank you so much, Ibukun, for sharing your experience with us. And we could actually see, that if women could look at things from another point of view, we will be better entrepreneurs and more successful serial entrepreneurs than where we are. Thank you for sharing your experience with us. You see, to address this dilemma faced by women, emotional intelligence has to come to play.
Absolutely.
Emotional intelligence makes women successful in various ways. When women have the capacity to tap into their skills to help navigate complex situations, support colleagues, and manage behaviors and expectations, wow, we don't have any reason why we should give up, but keep going. My name is Muti Olori. I'll be with you again next week with another guest. Thank you, and bye-bye.